And it's called A Christianity Worth Believing. The first part that I'm going to read for you is actually chapter 1, and it's entitled Confessions of an Adopted Son. Okay, so it reads like this. I am a Christian, a theologically trained, church-planting, evangelizing, Jesus-loving Christian. I trust in resurrection, and I seek to join with God in the world. But I have a problem, an internal conflict that has only gotten worse in my 20 years of following this faith. It's the kind of problem that I tell others about with great caution and no small amount of anxiety. I am a Christian, but I don't believe in Christianity. At least I don't believe in the versions of Christianity that have prevailed for the last 1,500 years, the ones that were perfectly suited for their time and place, but have little connection to this time and place. The ones that answer questions that we no longer ask and fail to consider questions that we can no longer ignore. The ones that don't mesh with what we know about God and the world and our place in it. I want to be very clear. I'm not conflicted because I struggle to believe. I'm conflicted because I want to believe differently. And I don't like feeling at odds with my faith that I hold so deeply, but I've come to understand that these sorts of struggles are part of being adopted into a family that's been around for generations. And I know firsthand just how fraught with conflict the adoption process can be. 7 years ago, my wife Shelley and I adopted our sons, Reuben and Chico. They joined our biological children, Mashawn and Taylor, to make us a family of 6. We quickly realized that the addition of these two did not just make us a third larger and 1/3 Hispanic. It made us a new family. All 6 of us have hurt and grown and changed because of the shifting dynamics of our family. And I believe that we're a better family with Reuben and Chico than we were without them. Before becoming part of our family, Reuben and Chico were part of the foster care system, and they lived in our neighborhood. And before that, they lived with their biological parents. And through adoption, their family and our family came together. That meant that we had to learn one another's histories. We had to tell the others our stories and listen to theirs. We couldn't force them to become Pagitts overnight, but we had to give them permission to be themselves. We have spent the last 7 years figuring out how to embrace each other in order to be a new family. And there's a whole lot more to this process than simply adjusting to a different family system of setting boundaries, establishing authority, and rethinking roles. There are endless ramifications to opening our family to include the histories, memories, patterns, habits, and assumptions of other people. Reuben and Chico, with their unique experiences, stories, pains, and passions, have changed who we are as Pagitts right now. But they've also changed who we will become. I sometimes wonder what it will be like if Reuben and Chico marry Mexican women and have children of their own who do the same. In a few generations, the name Pagitt will, for many people, be a Mexican name. These 2 children are now part of the Pagitt story, and they will forever alter the course that story takes. As hard as adoption is for the adoptive family, it can be even more difficult for the adopted children. The first few months after Reuben and Chico became part of our family were particularly intense. Since we lived next door to their foster home, the boys knew us fairly well before we adopted them. But moving in, making us their forever family, was radically different from the occasional sleepover. This was the real deal. Our home wasn't a place to hang out, but the place where they lived. They weren't visiting our family, they were recreating our family. They still talk about how strange it was for them to look at us and realize that we weren't their neighbors anymore, but Mom and Dad. The boys also told us that their most vivid memory of this odd transition was a collection of new smells. Every family has its own scent. We don't know how it comes about, but it seems to infuse the family's house, their clothes, and even their skin. Naturally, smells that seem normal or even unnoticeable to the family are strong and distinct to others. Chico in particular says that when he came into our house knowing that it would be his house, he noticed how different it smelled, and it scared him. As adopted children, Reuben and Chico had a lot to learn. Our smells, our rules, our customs, our humor. And they were introduced to a new set of grandparents and friends. They had to make an unending series of adjustments. They brought their family pattern with them, but our structure was already set, and we had them outnumbered. As Ruben and Chico began to find their way into our family, I thought about the ways that their lives echoed my experience as a Christian. Growing up, I knew virtually nothing about Christianity or its characters. I didn't know Easter and Christmas had anything to do with each other, much less anything to do with the intricacies of religion. I grew up in a family of intentional non-churchgoers. There was a church on nearly every corner that we didn't go to on purpose. I was never reprimanded for sleeping in on a Sunday morning, never taught how to look up verses in the Bible or sing songs to and about God. I never spent a summer at Bible camp or a week at vacation Bible school. The closest I ever came to stepping foot in a church was when I was 11 years old and Danny Oakland and I broke into the Good Shepherd Catholic School to steal playground balls. And we walked past the sanctuary on our way to the gym. My family's deliberate lack of of engagement with all things Christian was initiated by my dad. He never had much interest in the religious life. His parents divorced in the 1930s when divorce meant church ostracism. As a boy, my dad felt the pain of not being the right kind of person for church. His bitterness at being turned away lasted the rest of his life. My mom, on the other hand, was raised a tent-meeting Baptist convert. But my dad made her promise that she would never force us to go to church, and she didn't. When it came to religion, my sister and I were on our own. And it wasn't until my out-of-nowhere conversion at age 16 that I paid any attention to things Christian. I couldn't have asked for a warmer welcome into Christianity. I was embraced, discipled, and loved by wonderful people. As the adopted son in this faith family, I did my best to get used to the smells, memorize the names of the relatives, and follow the family rules. It was a wonderful beginning. I was asked to be part of it all, to bring my gifts and ideas and experiences to bear on the life of this family. Yet, my gifts and ideas and experiences have sometimes led me down roads that many in my family don't care to travel. The thing is, I came into Christianity with a family pattern of my own way of living and interacting, of processing and creating. My adopted sons are Mexican, and I'm a contrarian. I've always seen the other side of an issue, a different perspective on the conversation. And I'm not a contrarian by choice, it's just part of me. I'm pretty sure that even though I can't prove it yet, I'm genetically predisposed to being positively oppositional.